Good typer. Okay, I can barely, my eyesight is so bad. Carolyn Stetson. You with us, Carolyn, still? Where are you? Hey, Carolyn. Do you mind standing up?
Nope.
How are you? You're in from Trenton?
Yes, yes.
I'm just shaking your hand. Nice to see you. You had a question on pensions, but I should hand the question to you.
Okay.
Could you speak right into that microphone?
Okay, I guess you can hear me. My question is, how will you restore the integrity of the public employee pension system?
Thank you. Carol, let's start off with a nice, easy one. This is the ultimate in, first of all, there's no easy answer. Anyone who tells you there's an easy answer is not telling you the truth. This is, secondly, the ultimate in, I wish there was a signing ceremony in the deck of the aircraft carrier. One moment at a time, we got that solved, move on to our next problem. Far from it. I mentioned I chaired the original task force on pension and health care benefits in 2005. We had you should look this up, by the way, and see what you think. We had a long list of recommendations. But recommendation number one, and this is where I would be tonight on October 17th, 2016, is the state has to stand up for its side of the bargain, period. And if the state, will that be easy? It will not be easy. If the state doesn't, there's no use going to have the second paragraph discussion. There's a complete lack. People said to me, were you surprised that the public sector unions were demanding a constitutional amendment, which, by the way, I support? I said, surprised? How could anyone be surprised, given how long they've been left at the altar? This is going back to the Whitman years in the 90s. So listen, on the pension stuff, has Chris Christie kicked the can hard and far down the road? Yes. Is he the first governor? No, not even close. So this is a long time building. Now you got to find the money. I don't want to stand up here and give platitudes towards something. You got to find the money. And as I say, we're gonna all have to lock arms and behave in our enlightened self-interest. Because if we start behaving in our cold-blooded immediate interests, we'll never get to where we need to get to. But there's reason for optimism. One is not New Jersey, California. Jerry Brown inherited a state 5 years ago, $25 billion deficit. This year, $8 billion surplus. It can be done. A Democratic governor, progressive values, getting the state turned around. I wish we had the Silicon Valley tax revenues that we used to have, but they've got some stuff I have no interest in having. So it works both ways. I'll give you one area that I wrote about before I announced I was running, before, in fact, we had made a decision we were running. And I say this as a former banker. I think we're throwing, people, there's an honest debate about this, but for me it's a clear-cut case. We're throwing money away to these so-called alternative investments without boring your, without glazing your eyes over. There's a types of investments that used to command a very high fee because they gave back a very high return. They were the ultimate in you get what you pay for. And in fairness, there was a time when it was worth it. I'm of the opinion that time has passed. And forget about me, lots of other smart people are making that decision, not just in words, but in actions. CalPERS, which is the largest public pension fund in the country, has now gone to an all-index investments, which are very low cost, very sophisticated, in fairness. You have to make the logical leap that you'll earn the same amount of return with the same amount of risk. So that's an assumption that takes something to get your mind around. But that's one place. Nevada state pensions have done it. City of New York is going to do it. Warren Buffett has said, when I die, don't try to outsmart the market, just buy some low-cost indices. If we did that in New Jersey, because we've got one of the largest allocations of alternative investments, Matt, I think of any public pension fund in the country, right? We would save a gazillion. I mean, I think over the past 2 years, we paid out $1.3 billion in fees to just the alternatives. To give you an idea how much we pay in fees, get your mind around the following. 35% of our investments are in alternative investments, hedge funds, private equity. Again, there was a time and place that probably made sense. I don't believe this is the time or the place. 65% are in plain vanilla investments, much lower cost. Last year, 2 years ago, it cost us, help me out, Matt, 30 times more, not 30% more, 30 times more in fees to manage the 35% than it did to manage the 65%. So the returns on that 35 had better darn well be off the charts to justify the comparison in fees, and they've not been. So that's one source of money. But again, if the state doesn't stand up and say, listen, we're going to be counted, we got two reputational issues right now in the state which are really troubling. We could joke about some of this stuff, and a lot of it's not funny. But we've got to get back whole again in two respects. One, the part that people joke about is our governor's support still, even after all these disgusting stories and tapes, his support of Donald Trump. So you probably have friends and relatives outside of the state. He's made us a laughingstock because of his support, his unwavering support for Donald Trump. Secondly, we're not the state that people could trust anymore because we don't own up to our end of the bargain. And the pension crisis is the best example of it. It's unfortunately not the only example of it. We got to get back to the state that people can trust. Did you all see last week an article about the next-gen 9/11? It was supposed to be this sophisticated alert system, kind of a security GPS system on your cell phone. We've all been paying 90 cents a month in our cell phone bills since sometime after 9/11. I don't know exactly since when. And that total amount of tax that we paid is up to $1.37 billion, not to be too precise. Do you know how much this state has put in actually to build this next generation 9/11 system? $211 million. So if my math is serving me right, what do I got here? $1,126 million have been diverted to other holes in our budget that we didn't have the discipline, led by the governor, to plug up. People don't trust us. When people were polling for the gas tax, did people want to pay more money for gas? No, but they understood they were blowing tires off their cars. They thought that was the reason why people didn't like it is because they didn't trust that we'd spend the money to fix our roads. It wasn't that that they didn't want to spend the extra pennies to fix the roads. So we could go on, but we won't. Carolyn, thank you for that question. Hello. Where's Reverend Regina Thomas?